All right, Shalom. Shalom. I'm going to start off this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone that rule well, that teach well, while learning the truth 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say Shalom to the elect, the 144,000 scattered abroad, the four corners of the earth, and Shalom to you, Akwaf, which are you sisters that are sincere, your children as well. Shalom. And in today's video, it's basically just going to be a video touching on, being thankful for this truth, man, and being thankful for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai ultimately having mercy upon us enough to where we're able to understand these mysteries, to understand the scriptures. As we know, that's our comfort, man. As it says in this precept, this is Romans 15:4. It said, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. And that's what we have been given, man, through this truth. That's why we should ultimately be very thankful for it and to cherish it, man, because we have hope through the Rakakwadash, having an understanding of these scriptures and things in which it is that the Lord have ultimately revealed unto us, man. That majority of these people in the world do not have, man. They don't have that peace. They don't have that comfort going to sleep at night, ultimately knowing that, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is ultimately dealing with them, man. That's why a lot of these people out here in this world now are in disarray. They're miserable, they're sad, they're full of anxiety and fear and all type of depression and all types of other things, man, because they ultimately don't have this truth that we have, man, right? They're stressed out about the things in the world and, trying to pay bills and a job and all of that madness, man. Our minds is far above these worldly things, man. And that's only through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for ultimately giving us this understanding in which it is we have through these scriptures, right? So I'm actually getting to this precept, just on being thankful for the Lord, man. This is Psalm chapter 107, verse 1. It said, oh, give thanks unto the Lord, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, for he is good, man. And the Lord is very good for, ultimately allowing us to receive this understanding that we have in this wisdom, and being able to ultimately to spread it, and being able to understand it, being able to, cherish it and hold on to it. And we know wisdom is very important, man, especially the wisdom of the scriptures, which is more important than anything on this earth, more precious than rubies and, any other thing in which it is people may try to compare it to it. And I'm actually go to that precept, Lord's will, through the spirit. Right. It says, oh, give thanks unto the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, for he is good, for his mercy endure forever. And that's ultimately why the Lord have revealed these things unto us, man, through him having that mercy upon us, man, which is a beautiful thing, man, because out of everybody in the world that could have ultimately been given this knowledge, the Lord gave it to us, man, and we ultimately supposed to be very thankful for that, man, cherishing this gift in which it is that the Lord have given us, man, which is this truth and being able to understand it, right? So I'm going to actually get into that, right? This is Proverbs chapter 3. And I'm going to start at verse 13, right? In the KJV. And it says, happy is the man that findeth wisdom, right? And that's why we're happy, man, because we have wisdom, man. We may not have all the riches in the world. We, may not have all of this other different type of stuff in which it is these people in the world have. But we have wisdom, man, which is more important than any other thing, man, right? In this earth. And it said, and the man that getteth understanding, right? And this is verse 14. And it says, for the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. So this knowledge and wisdom that we have according to the scriptures is more important than anything in this earth, man. More important than money, more important than clothes, more important than women and all of these other different types of things that people think ultimately life is centered about or centered around, right? And this is verse 15. It says she is more precious than rubies, man, right? And all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her, man. Talking about this wisdom, man. It's very important that we have this stuff, and it's very good that the Lord have revealed these things unto us, man. That's why we got to ultimately be thankful day in and day out, man. The water that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, the water that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, for the Lord ultimately giving us these mysteries, man. Because like I said, a lot of these people don't have this understanding. That's why they're out here now bugged out, getting ready to be judged by the Lord, man, for not ultimately having these secrets, for ultimately not obtaining this knowledge in it and applying it to their lives, So this is verse 16. It said, length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor, man. This is verse 17 as well. It said her ways are ways of pleasantness, right? And all her paths are peace, man. And that's why we're at peace, because we have this wisdom, man. We know the prophecies that are going to fulfill. We know that sooner or later that this world that we're currently up under is going to be dealt with very soon. So all of these things in which it is that we have accumulated through this knowledge that the Lord has given us, it allows us to be at peace, man, with ourselves and our lives Even when we're going through certain, situations and things of that nature that may befall upon us, we still happy, man, at the end of the day, because we have what's more precious than anything, right? This is verse 18. It says, she is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her. And happy is everyone that retaineth her, man. And that's what we want to do, brothers and sisters. We want to retain this knowledge that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua have ultimately given us, and we do that through, ultimately giving him his praise, man, giving him his thanks, praying to him to ultimately to keep the spirit upon us, to continue to keep doing these things, to continue to keep laboring, to continue to keep studying, to continue to keep going out on the highways and hedges, making these videos and doing all of these different things in which it is that we're doing, because everything that we're doing in the Lord is being seen, man, And I'm going to just go to another precept on being thankful, man, So this is Ephesians chapter 5. Verse 20, right? And it said, giving thanks always for all things unto Yahweh and the Father in the name of our Lord, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, right? So we got to always be thanking Yahweh Shah, man, every day, just for allowing us to wake up and see another day is a blessing. Not everybody is allowed to wake up and see another day. You got a lot of people, the Lord allows them to, perish in their sleep, man. A lot of people, the Lord don't put that spirit of life within them to see another day. But for us to ultimately to have that, that's just something, important to be thankful about, man. And ultimately waking up in this truth and still being able to believe, man. Because a lot of people, they fall out of the truth, man. They give up, they lose hope, they turn away and go back into the world when things get hard, man, when they get bumpy, when they get rocky, when all of those tribulations and trials begin to start coming in their lives and they, got to experience difficulty, man. They stop praising Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, man. But ultimately, we're thankful because the Lord continues to keep that spirit upon us to ultimately to not do those things, man, to not go off, to not give up, to not, lose patience. And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, these are things to be very grateful for, man, So I'm going to have to go to this precept as well, right? This is Colossians chapter 3, right? And I'm going to start at verse, 15, and it says, and let the peace of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua rule in your hearts, right? Meaning your mind, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be thankful, man, right? So we're thankful for, ultimately the Lord setting up the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, man, which are the men that we have ultimately came across to, to be able to receive this knowledge, man. The water of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua for leading us to the elder apostles and the elder bishops, man. Because, we ultimately wouldn't have this understanding, man, if the Lord didn't lead us to those men who is teaching them 100% truth according to the Bible, right? Everybody else out here, man, they're not teaching the correct doctrine. These people in these churches and these pastors and all of these other different types of people and these other false camps that they have out here, man, they're not teaching sound doctrine, man. So, we should be thankful for all these things, man. This is stuff that we need to actually take into consideration on a daily basis, man. Just being grateful. And I'm actually go to another precept on that, being grateful, man. Because, the Lord, he loves those that are grateful, man, and that are thankful, man, and actually thanks him for the things in which it is that he's helping us with in our day-to-day lives, man. And that's what the Lord wants us ultimately to show towards him, man, is that grace, us being, praising him for all of the goodness that he's doing for us in our lives, man. Even when we're going through bad times, even when things are not working up for us and we're going through whatever the case may be, and times are hard, you still got to thank the Lord through it all, man. Because we always must remember that, it can be way worse than what it is. We all go through something, but at the end of the day, we still got to be grateful at the end of the day, man, and thankful that the Lord is continuing allowing us to live, continuing to keep his spirit on us, to stay in his truth, to continue to keep enduring and fighting, all of those are things to be grateful for, man, and it's just the little things that the Lord, sees, man, and he wants us to be grateful, man, and thankful, ultimately, So this is another precept I'm going to get. This is, I'm going to get, bear with me. This is James chapter 4, verse 6, right? And it says, but he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble, man. And that's why the Lord is ultimately supping and dealing with us, man. Because we're ultimately trying to walk in that way of humility to the best of our abilities, through knowing that the Lord don't need us, knowing that ultimately we need him, man. And, and we can be cast off just like all of the rest of these people that have came in the truth throughout the years and ultimately, puffed themselves up, and look at them now. They back into the world, bugged out, man, through, waiting to be destroyed, man. But ultimately, we continue to thank the Lord for allowing us to be coming in that spirit of meekness, man, which we know he's ultimately supping with us when we're able to be in that spirit of being humble, man. You don't want to be thinking proud and, boastful of yourself and thinking that you're some you not, and all these different types of things, man, because you got a lot of people out here with that spirit on them, man, especially amongst these Israelite groups, man. IUIC and the ISUPK, a lot of these dudes are proud as hell, man. And that's why the Lord is, doing the things that he's doing unto these people, man. But we want to ultimately continue to stay in that spirit of meekness, man, that the Lord can continue to sup with us and ultimately to continue to keep giving us the strength that we ultimately need and the things that we ultimately need for us to serve him, and make us better servants, in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, right? So I'm going to go to this precept as well. This is Psalms chapter 1. Salakia, Psalms chapter 118, right? And I'm going to start at verse 1. It said, "Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, for he is good, because his mercy endureth forever," man. And that's all the reason why the Lord is ultimately giving us these things in which it is that he's giving us the understanding of the scriptures, allowing us to sup with him, and things of that nature is because of mercy, man. Verse 2, it said, "Let Israel now say that his mercy endureth forever," man, right? Verse 3, "Let the house of Aaron," right, "now say that his mercy endureth forever." Verse 4, "Let them now that fear the Lord say that his mercy endureth forever." Right? Verse 5, "I called upon the Lord in distress. The Lord answered me and set me in a large place." Right? And that's ultimately what the Lord is going to continue to keep doing for us, brothers and sisters. He's going to continue to keep helping us as long as we continue to keep being thankful and ultimately, worshiping him in truth and sincerity, man. The Lord is going to continue to keep providing ways for us, man. No matter what it is we may be going through, man, or no matter what it is that, we're ultimately dealing with, or no matter how the situation may seem that you're in, it's always get better, man, for those that ultimately put their trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man, and that are thanking him and that are praising him and ultimately, worshiping him, man, in sincerity, man. As the Lord has said, he'll never leave us nor forsake us, man, long as we're worshiping him, in the spirit, right? I'm actually go to that. That's Deuteronomy chapter 31, right? And I'm start at verse 6 in the KJV, right? And it says, bear with me, it said, "Be strong, right? And of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them, for the Lord thy power, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee nor forsake thee." And that's what we always must remember, brothers and sisters, through all of the situations in which it is we find ourselves in, and stuff like that. You want to always remember that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is with you, man. Especially if you're doing those things in which it is that is pleasing unto him to the best of your abilities, man. Being a true worshiper, being a true believer, truly doing those things in which it is that he requires of you to do, man. And doing it in truth and sincerity, man. Being meek, being humble, doing the things in which it is that we know the Lord wants us to be doing, giving praise and thanks unto him, man, for, allowing us to, make it through our day-to-day lives, protecting us while we're out on the highways and hedges and teaching, giving us the spirit to be able to make these videos, because we're not doing none of these things on our own, man. The Lord is guiding us in everything that it is we do. We're not doing none of these things on our own behalf. It tells you that in Proverbs, that man's goings are of the Lord, man. How can a man then understand his own way? So Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is controlling us, man, at all times. He's putting the spirit in us to allow us to continue to keep doing the things that we're doing, man. And that's why we ultimately got to be thankful, at the end of the day for it all, So yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say with today's video. Lord's willing to be edifying. Just a little quick encouragement video for you brothers and sisters out there. Till the next time, I'm going to say shalom to the elect.